The revolving doors whispered shut behind me, but the weight in my chest felt like they had slammed. I hadn't cried. I hadn't raised my voice. I simply walked past the security desk where my own photo stared back from the plexiglass barrier. A printed headshot with thick red marker scrawled above it, "Do not grant entry." The young guard avoided my eyes, shifting from one foot to the other as if my presence alone might cost him his badge. 10 years at Horizon Dynamics, a fintech cybersecurity firm nestled in the tech corridor outside Denver. I was Lila Harper, Senior Compliance Architect. Not the kind of title that got you corner offices or invites to ski retreats in Vail. But I was the one who designed the layered security protocols that let us handle sensitive client data without tripping federal alarms. When we started courting the $280 million merger with Nexus Corp last year, I built the final authentication framework myself. It was elegant in its rigidity, personal digital certificates tied to my biometrics, retinal scan plus voice print, non-transferable, required for the ultimate sign-off on regulatory filings. Clause 9.4 in the integration agreement made it clear the originating compliance officer must personally authorize the final vendor and disclosure chain. No substitutes. I flagged it multiple times in risk reports. No one listened. They were too busy chasing the timeline. That morning started ordinary enough. Coffee from the lobby kiosk, still warm in my hand. I logged into the secure portal to run the daily compliance sweep before the merger close in 2 weeks. Then the HR call came, Devon, with her beige cardigan and practiced empathy. "This is structural, not personal," she said, sliding the severance envelope across the table without meeting my gaze. No performance issues cited. Just realignment for synergy. I had pushed back once too often on rush shortcuts that could expose us to SEC scrutiny. Effective immediately. Laptop returned. Badge deactivated mid-conversation. I smoothed my blazer and walked out. Inside, something hollowed out. Not rage exactly, quieter. Like the moment you realized the foundation you trusted was sand. The illusion that loyalty and invisible excellence bought security. I drove home to my quiet suburb in Aurora. The mountains hazy in the distance. Chamomile tea steeping while I stared at the backyard maple losing its leaves. My phone buzzed once. Corporate access revoked. VPN gone. Calendar invites vanishing like footprints in snow. No goodbye from my manager, who I'd stayed late for countless times building slide decks while he golfed Cherry Hills. They thought they were trimming fat, but I was the keystone. The merger required final sign-off on SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, vendor integrity chains, and SEC Form 8K disclosures for the asset transfer. My certificates were the lock. Firing me didn't just remove an employee, it severed the chain of custody. The system was designed that way, deliberate, auditable, bulletproof against exactly the kind of internal tampering regulators hated. By afternoon, the first cracks appeared. In the glass-walled conference rooms at Horizon's headquarters, the M&A team huddled. Derek, the deal lead with his cufflinks and perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, stared at the vendor console dashboard. One field refused to turn green. Final compliance verification, unverified. It had been staged. Approved internally just yesterday. Now frozen. They tried the usual fixes first. Cache clear. Permissions resync. Someone suggested cloning access paths. But the protocol I built rejected it outright. Clause 12.2. Authorization tokens are person-bound, verified via dual biometric hash. Expire on employment termination. Audit trail invalidated on any override attempt. The buyer's general counsel on the video call didn't mince words. This isn't a glitch. This is a material breach of integration integrity. Panic rippled outward. Slack channels exploded with urgent threads. Legal pulled the master agreement and found my name embedded on page 152. Subclause 9.4b. Buyer reserves right to suspend or terminate without penalty if original signatory continuity cannot be recertified. The CFO, Marcus Hale, stormed out of the emergency huddle. Ty Askew, face ashen, who signed off on her exit without checking dependencies. No one answered. My risk report from 9 months prior sat unread in shared drives, highlighted warnings about single-threaded signatory access. They tried reassigning tokens.
Failed.
Recreating the audit trail with legacy keys.
Blocked.
The fields were nested under hardened compliance servers I'd configured personally, requiring my original biometric capture. By evening, the first urgent email hit the executive suite. Material breach detected. Merger execution suspended pending investigation. The buyer's team wanted a full audit of authorization continuity. I sat on my couch, barefoot, cold brew in hand, watching the wind rattle the windows. Not triumphant yet, just heavy awareness, like sitting atop a dam watching the first leaks form. They remembered me now, not by name at first, but as that compliance architect, the one who got things done quietly so others could chase headlines. The calls started the next morning. Unknown Denver area code. I let it ring before answering. Lila, it's Marcus. CFO. Off the record, his voice cracked with forced calm. The man who once dismissed my flagged risks as over-engineering now sounded like he was negotiating with a bomb. How do we resolve this? I quoted the clauses back calmly, the ones I authored. Reinstatement required board resolution plus third-party auditor presence. Notarized timestamps from both sides. He tried charm. Then urgency, mentioning Carl Whitaker, the lead investor whose private equity fund had millions riding on the close. We're all in this together. I reminded him the system followed its design. No sabotage from me, just consequence. By midweek, the pressure mounted. Headlines trickled in niche finance chats. Horizon Nexus merger halted amid compliance review. Stock wobbled. Board calls turned tense. One director recalled my quarterly update, the yellow highlighted PDF on dependency risks no one read. Now it was evidence. The in-person escalation came on Thursday. 3 black SUVs purred into my cul-de-sac. Marcus, CEO Grant Ellison, king of keynotes and expensive pens. And a stern lawyer from the buyer. They knocked. Rang the bell. Texts and calls flooded. Let's talk. No lawyers. Neighbors peeked. A kid on a bike yelled, "Why are the suits crying on your lawn?" I watched from the upstairs window. Curtains half drawn. Grant's face flushed with frustration. Marcus paced. No engagement. My attorney texted, "Do not respond. Let them sweat." 15 minutes stretched into 20. Tears appeared, not mine. This was the pivot, the moment invisible architecture became visible force. Friday brought the collapse. The buyer's site updated, merger withdrawn pending revisions. No blame. Just 6 cold words that froze capital. Triggered board resignations. Internally, the boardroom was chaos, abandoned coffee cups, push chairs. Carl Whitaker dropping a single sheet with my name. She was the viability. Grant stepped down for personal reasons. Marcus faced restructuring. His profile vanished overnight. They hadn't just lost an employee, they dismantled their own bridge mid-crossing. No one had updated the protocols because no one believed the quiet specialist in the back cubicle held the keys. My inbox ignited. Headhunters. Fortune 500 compliance leads. PE firms. Saw the news. We need your architecture. Offers dwarfed my prior salary. I updated LinkedIn simply. Compliance architect systems designer former guardian of the unseen keys. No gloat. Just fact. Flashbacks haunted. Late nights hardening servers. Ignored warnings. The satisfaction of flawless audits. The moral settled heavy. Corporations chase synergy while discarding the very architects who make it possible. Power isn't titles or golf retreats. It's the silent structures holding empires. Weeks later, the dust settled. 3 executives gone. Stock recovered slowly under new leadership who immediately engaged independent auditors. I consulted selectively, choosing firms that valued foresight over flash. In quiet evenings, sipping tea under the maple, the question lingers: how many invisible hands keep the lights on, only noticed when they withdraw? Firing me wasn't malice alone, it was arrogance. Assuming replaceability in an irreplaceable role. The red-marked photo at security now symbolizes more than dismissal. It marks the cost of undervaluing the quiet competence that binds deals, protects data, upholds regulations. In American corporate life, where layoffs are structural and loyalty transactional, the real power often resides not in corner offices but in the code, clauses, and keys held by those never invited to the table. What would you have done? Open the door? Rebuild their bridge? Or let gravity do its work? Proving that some foundations, once removed, cannot be hastily rebuilt without consequence? The merger's ghost haunts Denver boardrooms still, a cautionary tale of hubris meeting its quiet, inevitable reckoning.